Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast. Yeah. That's right, Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast. We're back again. This time we are talking about draft positions, what we think the best, the worst, and just the good ones are. You've got, of course, your man Julian, and who else?
Laughy laugh, what it do, baby?
Right, we got Salt and Pepper in the building. Salt and Pepper in the building. We got the real ones here. James is where James is. James is doing what James does.
James is definitely drunk and sleep already. The draft hasn't even started.
So James won't listen to this. So we can I could tell you how I'm going to take first overall, and James wouldn't even hear me. So no big deal. It'd be fun if he did listen to it now. But all right, on to the topics. So this year, and we're gonna come to you with the thought of a 12-person draft. That's the most standard, is 12 team draft, and we'll come at you with the same approach, standard or PPR. And if there are any differences, we'll make sure we specify. But to start off, Brandon, where do you think the best spots for the draft this year in 2021 are?
Typically each year though, you really want to base it on the actual draft rankings and how your board is set. So for example, this year, I would say a lot of the heavy hitters that are worth taking in the first round, like maybe the first, second, third, fourth pick, fifth pick ish in there. And then it becomes a drop off. So you have to start to think about, what am I willing to sacrifice in the draft? So if the draft is top heavy, so to speak, if I don't get the first 2 or 3 picks, I always want to be at the back of the draft.
Okay. So is that, you think that's best for this year specifically, or is that a every year thing for you?
To me, I just kind of base it off how the draft's going and like how the actual rankings look. So if the rankings look like now, it's still looking like, I feel like the draft looks like it looks every year. Running backs are going to be going like crazy, but there's some running backs that, aren't going to be worthy to be taken in the first round that are probably going to be taken first round for people reaching. So whenever you have talent, like a talent disparity, so to speak, I feel like the back of the draft for me is always where I'm going to go, like that 11, 12 pick, especially 12, so you can go back to back.
Okay, so I'm going to come at you with a different approach. And again, I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think draft position, more than anything, would you agree, Brandon, is preference?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I prefer, and every year I go back and forth on this. This is something where if you're looking for consistency from me, there'll be a lot of things I'm consistent on. Draft position is really not one of them, because it's really year to year for me. It's how the talent, where I see their ADP is, their average draft position, and how I want to build my team. And so I've been doing some mock drafts the last couple of weeks, and I really think I want to be in the middle. I think I want to be anywhere between 4 and 8. Between 4 and 8, I have my list and my rankings, and there are 8 top running backs. Picks 1 through 8 is, I would go running back 1 through 8. After that happens, then you throw a Tyreek Hill in there. Because there's a fall off on running backs. There's this and that, but I'm saying for mine personally, I want one of those top running backs. And I feel like if you're at 1 or 2, there's a whole lot of pressure picking even at 3. There's a whole lot of pressure right there, because there's kind of a top 3. If you're at 3, more safe. But the reason I like 4 through 8 so much is I want the foundation, the building block, to be a top tier running back. Mm-hmm. And then there are 2 big names of the game when it comes to name of the games. I think that's how you would pronounce that. You'd make games plural. So there are 2 big name of the games when it comes to drafting for me, is how you want to build your team, and also predicting who is going to be available at your next pick. Exactly. Because while you may think this is your second best player, if they're not going until the 4th or 5th round, you're not going to use a second round pick on them. You're not going to pick them second, because you can get somebody else talented. Okay, well, they're going here. Even though I like this guy that goes in the 4th or 5th better, if he's going in the 4th or 5th, I could take him in the 3rd guaranteed still. So don't take him in the 2nd. So those are just rules you got to live by. You have to understand where people are getting drafted. But for me, it's so much easier to predict 8 to 16 positions next of when I'll draft again, as opposed to predicting 20, 22, like 23 positions Again, 23 players go between when you pick and when you pick again. If you're on the ends, that's a lot, man. And I feel I've been on both ends. I've been 1, I've been 12 in the past. And I like it a lot because I like doubling up, getting 2 players. Like, okay, I get 2 of the premier talents, especially when you're like, so I go this guy or this guy right here, this guy or this guy. Do I go running back or wide receiver? And you can be like, you know what? Because you're in that position, you can take both.
But see, for me, like the middle for me though, it's so many wild card factors. You have, all the different people that we talked about how they draft. You have the homers, you have the new guys, you have the reachers that are going to pick everybody from their famous, NFL or college team. Like I feel like there's so many factors when you're drafting in the middle. There's so many things. Like, let's just say a running back that you want is 8, right? You're thinking, oh, this running back is going to fall to me. And then one of the guys, from 1 through 7 takes the running back. You're like, dude, he wasn't even projected to go there, but somebody took him. And then on the back end, when coming back, like, oh man, this dude's going to be available by the time I come back, because you know what I mean? You have to scroll back to the end of the snake and then bring it right back around to you. And then like, that's more pressure to all those different variables, because not everything is gonna fall out like the mock draft, because I've done leagues to where I've done tons of mock drafts, right? And I know about where players should be going, and people just muck it all up, man. To just muck it all up.
Of course, but to me, that's why I like the middle so much better, is because there's always the human factors. Always going to be that human factor where somebody is going to reach. Well, if you're in the middle, you only have to wait 12, 11, 13, 14 picks until you pick again. So you can benefit from that reach. If you are not picking for 20 picks, somebody's going to benefit before you, and there's going to be somebody wise picking again before you, and they're going to get that person that falls. You're like, oh my God, this person should have went a round ago. I almost took them 22 picks ago and I didn't. And there's no reason they should still be available. I want to get them. And then 3 picks before you, somebody else with common sense and so a little bit of know-how about fantasy football, they're like, man, I can't believe this person just fell to me. They take them. So I really don't like having to wait 20 plus picks to pick again. And I think because the human factor, because if I only have to wait 12 or 14 picks or something like that, then I know somebody good is going to fall to me over and over and over again.
I mean, but and I mean, those are like, I feel like you can't really determine what draft slot you get. So I mean, in essence, regardless, anyway. like yeah. So you have to really, the idea of it is really prepping yourself to have a strategy no matter what pick you do. So 100%. So when you're out there doing your mock drafts, I always practice having the first pick, the second pick, the middle, close to the middle, the second and third pick. Like you have to practice with those mock drafts at every possible position. Absolutely. And you're gonna have to do it over and over, because you're gonna jump in those mock drafts, and then you're gonna have a bunch of people who are impatient and they don't want to wait the 3 to 4 minutes, for the mock draft to start, and they log out, and then the whole mock draft that you're sitting there waiting on is going to be an auto draft, which isn't going to give you a very good indication of where players are going. So you have to be extra careful with those mock drafts too.
And another thing I really like is, I think it's Fantasy Pros, the fantasy simulator, fantasy mock draft simulator. That's a good one too, because it's got the ADPs of all the experts. So it's just you and the computer, but they do have a great calculator that has everybody going this, where they should be going, this where they should be going. And then at that next pick shows you who these are the best available at these all positions when you pick in this round. Yeah. So that's a lot of good knowledge. Do that a few times at like all the positions to get an idea of who's available when. So then you realize, hey, I don't have to reach. If there's a guy I really want, I don't know, say I think DJ Chark is going to be the top 5 wide receiver this year, because I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be all business. And maybe you're a big Jacksonville fan and you want all the shares of Trevor Lawrence and DJ Chark. Well, DJ Chark is maybe going in the 7th. You could get DJ Chark in the 5th or 6th, and you're still like, man, that's my wide receiver 1. And Trevor Lawrence is sometimes going undrafted, but never going before the 11th. So you can take him the 11th, maybe if you want to reach, but still the 10th. But it comes to the 10th, you're throwing darts anyway.
Oh yeah,
save it to the 10th. So like I say, you're throwing darts when it comes around 10. So before that though, we're going to switch topics. We're going to get to what is the actual strategy. If you have 1, 2, 3, if you have picks 4, 5, 6, if you have picks 7, 8, 9, if you have picks 10, 11, 12, because truthfully, it's 4 quarters with the draft. The strategy is about the same 1, 2, 3. Strategy is about the same 4, 5, 6. It's about the same 7, 8, 9, and it's about the same 10, 11, 12. Would you agree, Brandon?
Um, I I think it solely depends on the projected draft or like how you have people rank. So I think um I feel like all positions for me are different. If I have like a top, 1 through maybe 7, I'm always going to go running back. So that is going to change towards the back of the draft because then you're kind of getting to the point to where is this running back going to be a bell cow for me, or would I benefit from getting somebody like, for example, a Devontae Adams or a Julio Jones or a prolific wide receiver that is gonna consistently get you points every week. So you don't want to, you know, running back is king. So you don't want to reach and get a running back just to have one. You want to like use that first pick that you get. Your first round pick is going to have some kind of value. So I just, caution people to kind of really, really, do the research on the draft boards as far as, don't be married to your draft board either. So you have to go with the flow because you're going to have wild cards. Like I said, you're going to have the reachers. You're going to have people that are going to throw a monkey wrench in your whole plan. I guarantee it.
And if you are not somebody that's been playing for that long, or if you have somebody in your league or people in your league who haven't played long, maybe this is their first year playing, like, yeah, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Who cares? They're going to do some dumb stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to do some very, very dumb stuff. Some stuff that Brandon and I would not agree to. If James was here, he'd say go for it.
Oh, yeah.
He would say do it. He's probably done it. Who knows? James one time bet Brandon and I $100 at the end of a draft that he would win the whole league. And we said, so wait, you're saying you versus 11, we're taking the field and it's even money bet? Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah,
without needing to be said, Brandon and I were $100 richer at the end of that year. But we've also had a guy who he was a Chiefs fan. So he took Chiefs running back round 1. Cool. The next round 2, he took Charkandrick West, the Chiefs backup running back. We're like, what are you doing? so you're gonna have people that don't know stuff. All right. So let's break down the first round. First round is probably obviously it's the first, it's the most important round. And each round after that is the most important. Every round, but the second is the next most important. The third is the next most important. And so on and so forth. So the first round, if you have the top 3, it's you're going CMC, Derrick Henry, or Dalvin Cook. That's it. Yeah. It's any of those 3, and it's going to be in any order, whatever people are doing. If it's CMC first overall, I think in any format, I actually would probably go Derrick Henry over Dalvin Cook in standard. PPR, I'd probably go Dalvin Cook over Derrick Henry, but still, you can't go wrong either way.
Yeah.
Then you get a 4, 5, 6, and it's going to shake it up a little bit. So you get there's a Saquon. Then you've
Taylor,
Jonathan Taylor's. Some people. Go ahead. No, I would say I think Kamara's got to be up there. Kamara's in the top 6, and then I think the 7, 8. So Zeke sometimes slides in. Sometimes Jonathan Taylor falls. Nick Chubb sometimes slides up there. Sometimes Nick Chubb falls. But that's 8. That's 8 running backs right there that I named. I think if you can get any of those 8 this year, you're starting your team off very strong.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So if you're, but I think the important strategy is, what about those guys, Julian, that are at 9 through 12? Like, right. What about those guys? Like what do they do if they are sitting there like, crap, my whole draft strategy has blown up in my face right now because I wanted to get one of those 8. Like, I wanted to get one of those 8 running backs and I can't get one. What do they do?
So my information, when I put out, my knowledge that I try to share with everybody is at the end of round 4, you should have either 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, or 3 running backs and 1 wide receiver, or you could have a tight end only if it's Kelsey
or Kittle.
So I disagree, but Brandon feels that way. At the end of round 4, I would take Waller or Kittle around 5, but not round 4. At the end of round 4, I think because running back is so slim, at the end of round 4, I will make it an exception. You have Kittle. I'm sorry, not Kittle. Kelsey, a top wide receiver, and 2 top running backs. But so Kelsey was going to cost you late first, early second.
Oh yeah, that's a hot price.
Which means, so your other pick in either the late second or early first has to be a running back. And then third or fourth, you got to get probably third, you got to take a wide receiver, but third or fourth, really, because you want a top wide receiver, but I feel like you can get that better, but you still need these top running backs. And after about after round 4, there is a ginormous drop off in the quality and just the starting running backs. There's just a huge drop off. There are only so many running backs that can start for teams. So for round 4, I like probably 3 running backs and a top tier wide receiver. But if Kelsey falls to me, I'll probably have 2 running backs, Kelsey and top wide receiver. So if I'm at 9, I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. I think he's a wide receiver 1. And because they're top running backs, or they're 8 that are elite. If I get picked 1 through 8, I'm happy with that, which I said I prefer to be in the middle, but I get a top guy no matter what. Yeah. And then 9, I'm going Tyreek. And then you've got the guys that I think will do well. So you've got, it could be Aaron Jones, Cam Akers.
Yeah, Joe Mixon,
and I mean, but by the time we're drafting, end of August, beginning of September, we may be saying Najee Harris as well.
Could be, yeah. And that is possible. So I mean, you still can put yourself in a situation where, especially if you're playing PPR, you can think about the value of a wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, even
they're
Kelsey.
going third. They're going third right now.
And that's what I'm saying. Even Kelsey, like those wide receivers are still going to help you with bulk as far as catching up, because not a lot of running backs, even in PPR, not a lot of running backs are going to get you a bunch of points off of catches, other than Chris McCaffrey and some other third down backs here and there. But like if you're struggling in deficiency,
Kamara,
definitely Kamara, yeah. Or if you're struggling with like, dang, all the good running backs are gone, I don't want to reach for one. There's the Tyreek Hill options out there. Like there is the Hopkins, there's Devontae Adams. Like those guys are going to get targets. They're going to get a lot of targets, like a lot of them. So
there are very few, but if you get one of those guys where they'll get running back 1 numbers a lot of weeks,
exactly, especially if you're playing PPR.
Yeah. So, don't worry too much, because then you could still get in the second round. You can get the Joe Mixon. You can get the J.K. Dobbins.
Exactly. Yep.
CEH. So you maybe get CEH early third, even sometime in the third. So there are a lot of running back ones still in the second and third. Not that top 8 tier. There's to me a big fall off after that 8.
Yeah.
And you never know. Cam Akers can end up a top 5 running back. Absolutely. Especially with a guy like Sean McVay coaching him. Aaron Jones can end up a top 5 running back, but there could be rookies that end up a top 5. We could have Najee Harris. I don't be shocked. I 100% predict that we're going to have a rookie finish as a running back 1. Now, is it Najee? I think so, but it could be Michael Carter. It could be Trace Sermon.
It could be Travis Etienne. Could be Travis Etienne. It could be a lot of. It could be
Javonte Williams.
Yeah. So I mean, also too, another good strategy is if you are, late game action where you're kind of lacking at running back and you kind of had to go wide receiver heavy just because of how the draft fell. Remember, you always draft based upon how the draft's falling.
Yeah.
Do not be married to your board. Do not be married to your board.
Yeah. The top 6 rounds or whatever, best available, man.
Yeah.
You take best available.
So what you can start to think too is start to think a little bit outside the box. You have the injury prone running backs that are kind of consistently hurt. Think about snatching up some handcuffs, because injuries have devastate people's fantasy seasons every single year. Like Saquon last year, Dalvin Cook was hurt for a bit. Christian McCaffrey was hurt all season last year, and then Mike Davis was a running back 1 that was on waivers, and people snatched him up. So just start to think about the running back, their injury history, and it's a possibility. You could get lucky. If Zeke gets hurt, you got what's his name from Dallas, the backup? Tony Pollard. Yeah. So like those guys are going to be valuable options, like to kind of just like hide away and stash in the event that an injury takes place.
And that's round 12 and on. So
definitely.
My philosophy though on the handcuff is, so I personally don't want any handcuffs. I don't want to waste a pick on that. Only time I would consider it is if they're definitely injury prone, and I used a top pick. So Dalvin Cook has been hurt. Saquon's been hurt. CMC's been hurt. I'm not, if I get Derrick Henry, I'm not wasting 15 rounds. I'm not taking his handcuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Nick Chubb, his handcuff is Kareem Hunt, who's going in the 4th, 5th, something 6th round, something like that. He's going in the early middle rounds. You're not going to pay that price. 100%. Don't do that.
No. I'm just saying, like, that's just
Right.
another option if you were lacking in running back, because like I said, you're going to get to a point. It's only so many teams with only running back and run at a time. So now you're going to start to think, what backup could possibly get play if I'm looking for a running back. If you have the running back hoarders who guys in your league that'll draft 5 and 6 running backs, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be a running back deficiency, and you're going to have to like
Looking at
really
you,
start to think
Chad.
outside the box.
Looking at Chad the Chaplain.
Oh yeah.
But and if you are a running back hoarder, hey man, that could pay dividends for you. The thing is, you lack in other positions.
Yes.
Sometimes you can take advantage of people like Big Ronnie in some trades. So yeah, if it can work out. Don't ever take a handcuff too early though. No matter what position you have, just don't waste an early pick on that. And sometimes if you're in round 13, you're like, man, who the heck do I take right now? My roster is set. Don't be afraid to take, which I prefer even more. Take the Giants handcuff. Like Saquon has not been able to stay healthy recently, because not only could that possibly give you another RB1, but now you have got trade bait. And the guy that took Saquon the first time, he's like, I don't even have a first round pick healthy. And now you're like, hey man, I got your guy right here on the silver platter. So don't be afraid to do that late in rounds if you feel like your team's already set. Also, anybody I'm taking round 11 and later, other than my kicker, my defense, I'm prepared to drop them on a moment's notice. I want them to be gems, and I want them to turn out into wide receiver ones and running back ones and QB ones and tight end ones. I want that to happen, but I'm realistic. The majority of the talent came off the board already, unless you maybe in the 11th, I got Devonta Smith. He fell and I picked him up. He ends up being a monster. You can get sleepers, but it's not that common. You think, okay, maybe Aguilar has a great year. Maybe Mac Jones comes in and him and Aguilar have this incredible connection. And you got him.
For the most part, like Julian said, like a lot of the talent is going to be off the board. So
gone.
I mean, what I would suggest, pay attention to those training camps. Like search the internet, like do your research, especially if it's a money league and you're investing resources, financially into a league. Like it's a business, it's a business. Do your research to make sure for example, Raheem Mostert, like he's the RB1 supposedly, but he's hurt. So like the rookie Trey Sermon, for example, is going to probably get a bulk of the shares with whoever they has the RB1 right now. So like things like that, like it just takes a quick Google search and things like that to actually research draft positions where players have traded. Like if you're not a huge player in the free agency market, to see where all the new faces and new places are, like that is a good way to start to know, like, oh man, this person isn't here, that person is there. Like looking at lineup, they have things online that you can look at to where it'll show you the depth charts of like every single team. Just go check out the depth charts. Like things that easy can put you in a position to draft better than the next person who's just coming there to get drunk, have a good time.
But we need those guys too. So please, if that's you, come show up. Come show up.
I'm not saying you can't get drunk and have a good time, but
we need you good. We need your good time. We need your charisma, and we need your money.
Yeah.
Okay, so we stuck it out to them, rounds 1 through 4. Ideally, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, or running back or 1 wide receiver and 3 running backs, or Kelsey, or in your eyes Kittle as well, and then 1 wide receiver and 2 running backs. So let's talk about. I'm sorry. No, good.
No. I was gonna say I feel like a sneaky third tight end option out there is gonna be Mr. Mark Andrews. So he's definitely a huge star on my list because Lamar Jackson finds comfort. He finds comfort in that guy.
You got him over Darren Waller.
I just truly don't really trust Derek Carr. So Waller, the system they run kind of favors, 100%
favors him. Yeah.
Like the West Coast offense, but like Mark Andrews, he's a comfort pillow for Lamar Jackson, who already, you can tell his confidence in throwing, based upon how the last couple of seasons played off, is not really where it should be, but he finds comfort in Mark Andrews. So don't forget about that guy.
Well, so let's talk about rounds 5, 6, 7, 8. It's the meat of the draft. Anybody who's been drafted long enough will tell you this is where the draft is won.
Yep.
When you find the running back ones here, the wide receiver ones here, where you find the QB ones here, the tight end ones here, which I promise you they will be available. They will go off, and not every single one, but you're gonna have. They're only 12 top quarterbacks to be a quarterback one. 12 top. You're gonna end up getting one of these guys. Maybe like probably, and most likely top 6 guys. Maybe even a number 1 guy will come off in these rounds.
Yeah,
So
true.
so Brandon, let's say they went. Let's say they went 3 running backs, 1 wide receiver in rounds 1 through 4. Where do they go rounds 5 and 6? And then where do they go 7 and 8?
I guess that heavily depends. What round you said we're in 5 and 6 round, 5th and 6th round?
Yeah.
5th and 6th round. It all depends. If some hefty quarterbacks are available at that time, I wouldn't pick a quarterback, but I would start to think about it in my mind, because once that first quarterback is snatched off a board, it scares everybody, and everybody starts.
So are you thinking about it at 5, and are you potentially drafting it at 6?
Yes. So I'm thinking about it at 5, depending on who's available. Now, if Lamar Jackson is there, is a no-brainer. He's going to be gone way before that anyway, because Lamar Jackson is basically an extra running back. So that's a little key thing. If you're looking for a running back, he's an extra running back. He's going to get carries. He's going to get rushing yards, all that good stuff. But if the top 2, which I figure are Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, are gone, now if the Aaron Rodgers are sitting there, depending on how it plays out in Green Bay, obviously, but let's just, for argument's sake, assume that he's going to stay in Green Bay. If Aaron Rodgers is sitting there, right, and I have 3 solid running backs and 1 number 1 wide receiver, I'm definitely going to go. I would go Aaron Rodgers at that time to just get it out of the way, because I feel like there's so much depth at the wide receiver spot that you're going to be able to find really good wide receiver options left in the draft to pair with your number 1, especially if you have 3 stud running backs. Yes, I'm definitely going to solidify the quarterback position.
Okay. So I think rounds 5 or 6 are a little high for Aaron Rodgers, but not for Lamar Jackson. Now, if you can get to round 5,
he's gonna be gone, man.
I don't know.
He's gonna be gone. He got drafted second round last year. Like it was on average 2nd, 3rd round. He was gone.
Yeah, but he didn't even finish as the 2nd quarterback now. So I mean, it's really what have you done for me lately? Josh Rosen is that, or not Josh? I'm sorry, Josh
Allen.
Josh Allen. Jeez Louise, not Josh Rosen, bum ass. Josh Allen was that guy. He's the number 2 at ADP. He's the number 2, and then I think Kyler Murray is coming off before Lamar Jackson as well. So if you can get any of those names we just mentioned, and then there's still some other guys. Sure. If you're in the 6th and any of those guys are there, of course, if Patrick Mahomes is there, but that's a no-brainer. But if any of those guys are there in the 6th, use that pick. But also the 5th, if I can get talent. So in the 5th, I'm still looking for what talent fell to me.
Yes, that's true too.
In the top 4 rounds, I don't care if I had the 1st pick, the 12th pick, or anything in the middle. I want to know what talent did I have in the top 48 picks, and those top 50 players I have. Like, man, these are studs. These are producers day in and day out. I want to see what falls to me, because something's going to get fallen. People are going to reach in rounds 3 and 4. You might get a quarterback run. And if that happens, like we said before, if there's no problem waiting on quarterback, because there are a ton of quarterbacks I will take late and be very happy with my team this year. And so you can get talent like 3rd round, maybe, but definitely 4th round talent in the 5th. So in the 5th, I'm still looking for maybe a top tier. If I feel like doing Brandon's thing and running back hoarding, I might take another running back, because if you're playing running backs 1 and 2 and you typically want to put 1 in your flex, somebody's going to get hurt. Something's going to happen. You got to have a good backup running back. If you don't, injuries are going to happen. Bye weeks are going to happen. It's good to have another running back. So if you can get a stud right there that you had ranked as a 4th rounder or a 3rd rounder, take him there. Otherwise, or if you had maybe Julio Jones falls to you because people are scared because he's in a new team and AJ Brown is there. So if you get talent like that can fall to you in the 5th, go there. That's my advice to the 5th round, because I think that will happen. I think something will fall. Now, the 6th round, I wouldn't want to use a 6 guaranteed on a tight end or a quarterback, but see what you had ranked highly. And if there in the 6th, I'm looking at something like that if it's an elite talent. So if Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray are still there, I'll take that there. If Mark Andrews is still there, I'll take that there. There are maybe like 5 tight ends I consider elite this year.
Yeah.
5, and then the wild card is Kyle Pitts because he's a rookie.
Yeah.
But there are Kelsey, Darren Waller,
Kittle, Andrews,
and then TJ.
Yeah, TJ
Hawkinson. Thank you. Hawkinson. Yeah. To me, that's it. Those are the 5. It's those 5. And then I put Kyle Pitts right after.
Yeah.
And Kyle Pitts is a wild card, but freak athlete, one of the greatest college tight ends ever. And he's on a team that fed Julio a lot, that now all those targets are available.
Yep.
So I'm high on him. I have him ranked as my 6th going into the season, tight end. So in the 6th round, if I can get any of those guys, I'll probably go that route.
Yeah, and for me as well, I like to fill out the roster, and like if I'm worried that like somebody's gonna start a domino effect of even a quarterback run. So if you miss out on the top guys, I definitely would just wait on quarterback and then just try to fill out the rest of the roster and then start to build your bench, because you don't want to be the person like your first round pick goes down and then like your season is devastated because of one pick. So if you kind of bolster your roster and make it to where your bench is solid no matter what, especially with like wide receivers, like I draft, like I try to have at least 2 running back on the bench, and the rest I try to fill it with wide receivers, because I feel like I'm always weak at wide receiver because I'm always focusing on running backs, and I always just swoop and swap wide receivers every week to hopefully somebody hits. If I'm not able to get one of the elite guys like the Devontae Adams, the Julio Jones, the Tyreek Hill, those guys, if I'm not able to get any of the high ones, which are probably going to go at the end of the first round, roll into the second round, those wide receivers are going to start to come off the board, then I just take wide receivers and I take flyers on them. So I normally hit with 2 running backs on the bench and just go with wide receivers to just bolster my chances, because like Julian said, at that point you're kind of throwing darts, especially if you've missed the boatload for all of the premier wide receivers.
See, I don't think you're throwing darts until after the 8th. I think after the 8th, so to me, there's too much talent out there and there's too much strategy in the first 8. Starting 9 on, I think it's kind of throwing darts.
See, I feel like it's throwing darts just because, once again, we're already assuming that they have 3 running backs. You have 3 running backs and 1 wide receiver 1. I would either go.
Let's specify throwing darts then, because in my mind, throwing darts isn't will this player hit. Throwing darts is taking a chance on any position. I at least have an idea of what position I want to take. So okay, let me explain.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I'm saying, like, when I say throwing darts, I mean in the essence of I'm taking a wide receiver and I'm not really that confident in taking them.
Fair. Okay.
It's kind of a guess.
Got it. Okay. So my point was, if you're in round 13, you're throwing a dart at just any talent. Like, hey, you know what? Christian Kirk. I remember that guy had a couple good games. Sure, why not? And you're in round 12 and you go, who's the backup in Tampa? Giovanni Bernard is in Tampa now. He's playing with Tom Brady. Yeah, sure. Because at that point you're willing to drop anybody. But so I get what you're saying. There's not a specific name, a specific guy I'm looking at, but so I said what I like in rounds 5 and 6, round 7 and 8. Excuse me. Again, of course, if you have talent fall to you, take the talent. That's paramount. If you have great players that fall to you in those rounds, take that. But in most cases, in 7 and 8, I'm looking to grab my wide receiver 2. I probably went running back heavy in the top 4 rounds. And then I said maybe a tight end, maybe a backup running back, maybe a quarterback thrown in rounds 5 and 6. Who knows? Maybe I drafted the end of round 2 or drafted at the end of round 1. I got a running back and I got Kelsey. So now and then I got a wide receiver after that, another running back. So now I'm looking for my second big wide receiver. At this point, there are a lot of big names out there. Juju is still out there. Juju Smith-Schuster is still on the board. I saw Cooper Kupp go at this time.
He's going to go late.
Odell Beckham Jr. is going like in the 4th, 5th, something like that. There are a lot of big names that you can get in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And then 7th, 8th, as I told you, I'm really, really looking at to get my wide receiver 2. Yep. And I see what Brandon was saying, the throwing darts, though, because that wide receiver, Brandon Cooks, is going in the 8th. If that doesn't hit, so Brandon Cooks, I think will have a good season. if he has a good quarterback.
Yeah.
We don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to play this year. So if Brandon Cooks does have a good quarterback, I think he's going to have a good year. Maybe you take a chance. Maybe in the 7th, you take Jamar Chase, or 8th, you take Devonta Smith. These are definitely kind of throwing darts because they have no track record. I see Brandon's point there, but to me, it's not throwing darts because I know it's at least, I know how I want to go. I want to go top wide receiver that's left on the board. That's what I want to do in 7 and 8. And I don't have to go both. I could still get, ideally, I get some kind of talent that fell to me in the 7th, and then the 8th, or vice versa. The 7th, I'm like, wow, there's a few different really studs there still there. Maybe the 7th, I go Deontay Johnson or Juju Smith-Schuster, something like that. And then the 8th, I'm like, I got some talent to fall to me as well. Whether it's a top running back rookie that I really like, maybe Melvin Gordon is still on the board in 7th. Who knows? Because he's going late. So you never know what could be there. Try to capitalize on other people's misfortune. And also, I think 7th, 8th is a great place to look for your wide receiver too. But I see Brandon's point of throwing a dart because you're going to want to grab at least one wide receiver later too, because you took that wide receiver so late. You're not certain that he's going to be
exactly
your Michael Thomas, your Tyreek Hill.
Make sure that he is a wide receiver 1. So if you are picking a wide receiver, another really good strategy is making sure that that's a number 1 wide receiver, because it's going to increase his chance per play. It's going to increase the possible targets that they're going to receive. So make sure that you're picking wide receivers that are wide receiver 1s, especially if they're on the board. If they're not on the board, then you obviously don't have a choice. But if you have the choice of picking a number 1 wide receiver, take a number 1 wide receiver. It's that easy.
But that comes with a little bit of research as well. So maybe look in Jacksonville. Maybe you like Marvin Jones a lot. He's there and he's been great for a lot of years. But DJ Chark is the number 1 there. So make sure you know that. Make sure you take, if they're both on the board, you take Chark over Marvin Jones.
Yes.
And the Pittsburgh wide receiver, that's a tough one, man. That's a toss-up. I've seen Juju, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool.
Those young guys, man. Yeah. Those young guys, man.
Now, see, I'm going to Juju over any of them, but I've seen Juju get drafted 3rd out of those 3. So it's tough in those different types of fields. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers one is a tough one. Are you going Deebo Samuel? Are you going Brandon Ayuk? And sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but there are certain field backfields that are now wide receiver groups that are more difficult, but take the best available. I mean, if for Los Angeles, is Cooper Kupp is the slot guy. I don't think is that considered the wide receiver 1, or is Robert Woods the wide receiver 1?
Wide receiver 1 there would probably Woods, right? Wouldn't it?
I think it would be, but Cooper Kupp gets more targets.
Yeah.
So you got to understand how the offensive coordinator, how the head coach runs the offense. Got to understand how the quarterback likes to throw it too. I mean, a good tight end later could be, maybe you didn't get a tight end, right? Okay. So we went through the first 8. Now let's go through 9, 10, 11, 12, because 13, 14, 15, we're just going to say, take a kicker, take a defense, and take somebody your heart desires.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's 9, 10, 11, 12. If you haven't gone tight end or quarterback, go tight end or quarterback. Would you agree with that, Brandon?
Absolutely. Yeah. You by the time you get to that point of the draft, your roster, your starting lineup should be 95% filled already, meaning like you're probably missing the kicker and the defense. Like you shouldn't wait to especially the last round to draft a quarterback. That's absolutely a bad idea. But
I want you to finish, but I'm going to say I disagree slightly this year. I disagree.
My personal opinion, especially with quarterbacks, because now you're just taking scraps and you're assuming that quarterbacks are going to be there. What if they don't? Because now you're to the point now where people are starting to take backup quarterbacks as well. So you have to make sure at least you get a starter, a guy that you want, because you don't want to be in a position where you're thinking, Matthew Stafford will be on the free agency list, or you're going to have Ryan Tannehill on the free agency list, or you're going to have other quarterbacks, and then you've got let's just say everybody drafts different. So let's just say 6 of the people in the league have drafted 2 quarterbacks already. Now they have a backup quarterback. Yeah. So you're in a really bad spot. So now you're going to be in playing maybe a rookie and like hoping that he pops. So you always want to have your roster filled out. At that point, in my opinion, your entire roster should be filled out and And the only thing starting that you haven't picked out is your kicker and your kicker and your defense. And I always pick those last. But now I'm going to fill up the bulk of my bench. But I would not get to that point and not have the bulk of my roster filled out outside of kicker and defense.
So I thought about the quarterback thing a little bit more, and I think you're absolutely right. Before somebody's taking a second quarterback, I think you need to take. I mean, some people are going to do crazy stuff, but before the majority of the league, before they are taking their second quarterback, you should take your first. And there are a lot of great options that are going to be out there still.
Yeah.
But so with that being said, one thing, so I like the idea of 9, 10, 11, 12, make sure I got my quarterback and tight end taken, and then just taking 2 best available. If you could find a running back 1 still there, I mean, Tevin Coleman is going in the 10th. You know, I've seen a lot of stuff like that. So if you can get some talent like that in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, take it. I prefer to probably have a tight end by 12, but I'm not upset if I don't, because that means if I didn't take a tight end, I'm going into round 13. That means there was so much talent left for me at 12 and in 11 that I took studs, like to guys I think can have great seasons. And that may happen to you. So then you already know where you're going. Picks 13, 14, 15. You know you're going kicker, defense, and tight end. And if you're like, all right, there are 20 tight ends left on the board, I think 6 of them have potential, but I don't really trust any of them. You could take that round 15. I've done a few different mock drafts where I took my tight end in the final round, and I was super okay with it. Super okay with what happened. And because there are like 6 guys that won't get drafted that could potentially have good seasons. So if you get into the round 13, 14, 15, you know, you want your kicker, your defense, and then probably just whatever's left. But if you still need a tight end there, make sure, just know that this is a possibility, and this is not a terrible draft strategy to have. Like, if I don't get one of my top guys that I want waiting all the way to the end, that's not a bad strategy in my eyes. But look who has the best week 1 matchup for tight ends. Look that up. And that's the guy you want to take in round 13, 14, or 15. Take him. And because he should ideally have a good week. And then you'll see what other tight end, like, oh, damn, there are 2 tight ends on the waiver wire that look like monsters. And we didn't realize. I mean, maybe nobody took Tyler Higbee. I think Tyler Higbee will have a good year with the Rams.
Dallas Goedert too, because him and Ertz are there. So
yeah, maybe Ertz doesn't sign with somebody until September. So people are like, I don't want to take a chance, and then he ends up coming right out and having a touchdown and 56 yards or something.
You have Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith in New England. That's a 2 tight end system. Hunter Henry has been plagued with injuries, and I mean, right now he's slated to be drafted over Jonnu Smith. So I mean, that's definitely a huge option.
Yeah, I mean, you also have OJ Howard, who if Gronk is, when it comes to tight ends, Gronk is old. Gronk's been beat up. Gronk has been retired. He's back from retirement, a second season back from retirement. Keep these things in mind. So OJ Howard is a young stud. If he can stay healthy, he may be the the tight end 1 on a Tom Brady led system. So these are all things to keep in mind. And most people are probably not going to draft OJ Howard. I don't anticipate in any leagues I'm in OJ Howard being drafted. But he's a guy I have my eye on.
Yeah. And I mean, many people don't hoard tight ends. So so even if you waited on tight end, you're going to be fine, because it's a 12-man league, 32 teams. Like, you're going to be able to locate a number 1 tight end from some team. So just kind of keep that in mind.
I would be shocked if more than on a 12-team league, more than 16 tight ends are owned. I'd be shocked, which means there are 16 teams with tight end 1s sitting out there.
Yeah. Just like I said, best rule of thumb is take a starting position player.
Yeah. So, I mean, who the heck is the starting tight end in Carolina for the Panthers?
Carolina, it is, because he retired.
See, nobody knows, but he could be good. That's my point, is we don't know. I don't know who the Jets starting tight end is. The Browns have Austin Hooper and they have David Njoku. That makes it kind of tough, because if if we only had one, I'd be like, I like that guy. Austin Hooper's had good games. David Njoku's had good games, but it's tough when they have two. So understand systems like that. If they split the tight end work, that makes it more difficult to take.
Funny thing is, to answer your question, Carolina doesn't even have a tight end listed in the top 35.
Not in the top 35. Okay.
Yeah. So I know. So even for example, Tennessee, Jonnu Smith is gone now. So the starting tight end there is going to be Anthony Ferkser. So I mean,
and I can't remember the guy's name, and I have not seen him drafted, but I know that he had a good end of the year. They started playing him, the tight end for the Saints last year. He had a good end of the year. He was a rookie last year. Now he's got a season under his belt. Jared Cook is out of town. Jared Cook is with the Chargers now. So these are all things to know that you can get them. Taysom Hill plays. Yeah, that's right. Taysom Hill's listed as tight end and quarterback.
So he's a good Swiss Army knife player, and in some league, in a lot of the leagues, they were allowing him to be played at tight end and quarterback. So I mean, even if you start him at tight end, he's still going to get some touchdown passes, some touchdown runs, some touchdown catches. So he's going to be. I think a lot of people are going to reach for him, but Sean Payton does utilize him in multiple ways. So keep that in mind as well too.
And if your league uses him allows you to use him at tight end, you can get away with a lot with him this year. Especially because he's probably going to play even more snaps with famous Jameis in there. So we'll end it off with. So Brandon, if there are 1, 2, or 3 even draft tips you have, what would they be to focus on the strategy?
My number one would be don't panic. Do not panic. Pay attention to the draft. Like all this is encompassed in one. Don't panic. Pay attention to the draft, and don't be married to your board. That's one. Always be willing to be flexible, to move and have ebb and flows, because everybody's going to draft different. Do not come in with a set strategy and try to stick to it. That strategy will change because people will do random weird things to mess up your whole mindset. I guarantee you. 2, do research. You cannot come into a draft without knowing who a starting running back for a team is, or what cut up quarterbacks are. Don't be the guy out there drafting injured people. Okay, do research. Look at depth charts. So research is very important. Number 3, always come to the draft with pen and paper, knowing the players. All right, because especially if you do those in-person drafts, there's not going to be this, like online and in person definitely helps. You said what?
It moves up. Who's best available?
Exactly. So like if you're one of those people that don't got a great memory like me, I'm going to come with paper, seeing who's been taken off, so I can know, oh, this person's here, because not everybody's going to be drafting like that. So that'll put you ahead of the game by just having paperwork. So those are my top 3 things: research, don't panic, and go with the ebb and flow of the draft. So
I like it. So my number 1 is definitely come prepared as well. And while I say that, Braden and I had been in a league where a guy just showed up, nothing, threw picks out. We voted him worst draft out of everybody there, and he won the league that year. So that's happened to us. So there's it's always better to be lucky than be good. Sometimes you anything crazy stuff happens, but for the majority, yes, come prepared, man. Come prepared, because you're going to have people, like I said, 3rd rounders that may end up being available in the 5th round, because it's your turn to pick, and you crossed off all these names. You're crossing, but a name right here is still available, and you're picking down here already. So damn, I can get this guy down here. So that's why I say I always like to try to take, if talent falls to me, taking that talent.
Yeah.
And the only way you can know if it falls to you, especially for in-person drafts, that's the best way to do it. And we'll do an episode in the near future also about drafting, about like a draft party. But so come prepared. The only way you can know what talent falls to you is if you have the talent ranked and listed in front of you. With that, have fun with it. I think my other tip is just to have fun with it. So the draft is definitely, it's where you build your team. It's supposed to be strategy, but celebrate your picks, rag on people that you think have bad picks, make it exciting. It's also supposed to be a good time. Yeah, I know it's a big deal to us. We've been doing it for a lot of years, and it's something like it's a bonding experience and a bonding time. Come prepared. and because probably people, you'll earn respect if you're prepared. Also, there are we've had some people in our league, Howard a couple years ago in our main league, who I'm like, this knucklehead doesn't know anything. He came super prepared. He had his boy like build him this spreadsheet. He did, and he built a tough ass team. So come prepared. You'll earn some respect, but have fun with it. Just have fun, celebrate it, be there with you guys, be excited, and pay attention. Pay attention might be my third tip, is pay attention to what the heck's going on in the draft. Pay attention to see if somebody reached. Pay attention to see who's available. Pay attention to everything going on. Pay attention to what other people around you are doing. If the person around you went tight end, wide receiver, know like, and maybe you wanted to go running back, then wide receiver. Know that guy's going to go wide receiver next, probably, or running back next, because he's came into round 3 with no running backs. So he's really, really screwed himself backed himself into a corner where he has to go running back next, or else his team's just going to be hot garbage. So pay attention to these details, but have fun with it, man. Draft loose. Like Brandon said, go with the flow. Don't reach for anybody. Take best available. Build your team and have fun and love it. Don't worry about if you didn't get the players that you wanted, because you got the best players that were available to you at the time. You got anything else, Brandon?
That's it, man. That's like I said, strategy. Everybody's strategy is different. So once again, one major takeaway is do not be afraid to change up your strategy. Don't be stubborn.
Don't be stubborn, like you said. All right, hey, this has been the Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast. We appreciate your time. We'll see you next time. We're out.
Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast, yeah.